Well, this is a big breaking news coming in this Thursday evening. The selection panel, the high-powered panel comprising of Prime Minister Modi, Mallikarjun Kharge, who's the leader of the opposition, and Justice Sekri have found Prima Facie Merit in the charges against the CBI Chief, and sources tell us that the CBI Chief has been moved out. Meenakshi Banja joining us on the phone line. Meenakshi, of course, we don't exactly know what moved out would mean since this is just the prima facie findings. But tell us what you're learning from your sources.
Well, Tanvi, this was in the offing for a fair bit of time. Remember, since last evening, we have been reporting that something unusual was going to happen. One did not know exactly what, but clearly this has come by. And the alacrity with which this high-powered committee was scheduling its meetings since last evening was a clear indication that all is not well. And then subsequently, we also had disparate developments coming in from Alok Verma's end, where he went ahead and reversed all these en masse transfers of officers that had happened during the tenure of Nageshwar Rao, who was officiating as the interim CBI chief, was a clear indication that all is not well. And today, there was this second meeting of this high-powered committee comprising Prime Minister of India, Justice Sekri, who has been nominated by the Honorable Chief Justice of India, and the leader of opposition, Mallikarjun Kharge. And subsequent to that, sources indicating that indeed the crackdown on Alok Verma, as was being insinuated towards earlier in the day by even Congress President Rahul Gandhi, has come by. This high-powered committee, under the provisions of the DSPE Act, has decided to transfer CBI Director Alok Verma outside of CBI or from CBI. The alternate arrangements and the other finer details of this particular decision, Tanvi, because it is just breaking, will be available in a short while. But yes, this particular crackdown on Alok Verma, as was widely anticipated since last evening, has transpired. It has come true, and the crackdown has happened. Remember, this was the only glitch, the technical glitch, which the Supreme Court had frowned upon, a basis which the Supreme Court had exercised its jurisdiction and reinstated Alok Verma to the position of Director CBI. And since that glitch now has been addressed by way of this high-powered meeting, a high-powered committee's meeting, which has played out again in consonance with the Supreme Court's directions yesterday and today, and this is the result that has come out of it. The charges against Alok Verma, according to this panel, this high-powered panel committee, indeed seem to have merit as per the initial assessment and news that we are seeing.
Yes, well, they seem to have moved with a lot of alacrity and speed here, Meenakshi, much to the resistance that we saw from Mallikarjun Kharge of the Congress Party, who's the leader of the opposition, and he wanted more time. He wanted Alok Verma to be given an opportunity to come and present his side, but all of that doesn't seem to have happened. There was a meeting last night, and there was another one this evening, which went on for several hours, and it seems now that between these three members, the final decision seems to be that he should be moved out, that prima facie there is merit in the charges against him. Now, we have to point out to our viewers, and we've been saying this since the time the verdict also came reinstating Alok Verma, that verdict was only on the plea challenging the validity of the CVC order. So technically, Alok Verma did not get a clean sheet from the Supreme Court on the charges against him, which is what you're seeing right now. The due process had to be followed. That due process is now being followed, and this seems to be the decision that has been taken. Meenakshi, but they've made such a mess out of it because he got reinstated yesterday, and in the last 24 hours, he's reversed all the transfer orders by the interim chief, and he's issued fresh transfer orders, obviously leaving the selection panel with no choice but to also move quickly.
Well, Tanvi, the panel's decision is something which will come in for greater scrutiny and debate going forward. As we speak, news is just breaking, and we are confirming to our viewers, leader of opposition, Mallikarjun Kharge, had opposed the removal of CBI Director Alok Verma in this particular meeting. So that's the big breaking. If we can request our desk to put it out, because this is breaking input again. There are three people in that high-powered committee. The Prime Minister, today, Honorable Justice Sekri, filling in for Honorable Chief Justice of India and Leader of Opposition Mallikarjun Kharge. So clearly there would have been a dissent note that would have been perhaps also circulated, or will rather be circulated in a short while from now,
Yeah.
which points to the inadequacies of the system or the procedure, the method that has been adopted, because clearly yesterday Kharge demanded two things. One, the 77 days that Alok Verma was divested of power should be duly compensated, and secondly, he should be given an opportunity to place his side before this particular high-powered committee. If that has not happened, then again these are grounds which will come under legal scrutiny.
Okay, all right, stay on with me, Meenakshi. Let's also go across to Faye D'Souza and Aarti Subramaniam, who are also joining us on this big development, this big story. Faye, it's been a very swift movement, quick decision by the High Selection Panel, but perhaps they were also not left with much choice, because in the past 24 hours, Alok Verma has reversed all the previous orders, issued new transfer orders. We were literally staring at a 2.0 of CBI crisis.
Absolutely, Tanvi, and one expected this decision to be made fairly quickly. Aarti joins me as well for the background of that case. So, Aarti, a couple of things that our audience need to realize here. Point number one was that the court deliberated on whether or not that midnight order of the CVC was actually valid or not. They decided that it was not. But at the end of the day, they also decided that the decision rests with the high-powered committee. Yes. And here is the high-powered committee's decision.
Yes, the Supreme Court found flaw in the manner in which he was removed and not necessarily the reason. What they said that the procedure in which it was done, the midnight crackdown as you referred to it, was incorrect, and the only group that is empowered to take a decision whether it is said to send the CBI chief on temporary leave, long leave, just to remove him, that has to be the high-powered panel. Now, this high-powered panel has the Prime Minister, the Leader of Opposition, Mallikarjun Kharge, and usually the Chief Justice of India.
Yes.
But because the Chief Justice of India was involved in giving this particular judgment, delivering this judgment, he recused himself and Justice Sekri stepped up. Now, what we do know from our sources is that Mallikarjun Kharge did dissent. I mean, not...
One would have expected.
Yes, hardly surprising. Yes. And it was obviously the vote of the Prime Minister and Justice Sekri would seem to have gone against the...
So here's the thing, and if we look at all of the arguments, and it's fair right now to look at all of the arguments made by the government representative in court, talking about the fact that there were allegations of corruption, that there was disruption in the functioning of the CBI, the court had asked very clearly that Alok Verma not make any policy decisions. And the first thing he did when he stepped into office was reverse all of the transfers that had been done by the interim chief. So, would this would then be fair to assume that this had something to do with the corruption charges, with the disruption of functioning of the CBI?
Well, the CBI has seen almost this Russian roulette of all the officers going on. Yes. Ever since this midnight crackdown happened, you saw there were a bunch of officers shunted out, and then that particular decision was questioned. The day Alok Verma came, he removed a bunch of officers as well. So this back and forth is not boding really well, because at the end of the day, there are some high-profile cases that the CBI is investigating, and the nature or the impartiality of these cases is extremely important.
Sorry to interrupt you, but I understand senior journalist Vineet Narayan is on air, and the reason why his voice is so important is because of what is known as the Vineet Narayan judgment that actually decided the process of the removal of the CBI chief. Mr. Narayan, thank you for joining us. Question for you, obviously you've been an advocate of the process this entire time, since October. When you understand the news that's coming out right now, in your opinion, has process been followed? Is this now valid?
Well, first of all, I'm in Allahabad, so I haven't really seen the details. But as I've been told by some friends on phone, that Alok Verma has been either suspended or whatever. I mean, he cannot continue as director of CBI. I would say that the allegation of Alok Verma and some concerned individuals was that the procedure was not followed. So now, after the directive of the Supreme Court, the procedure has been followed, and in that procedure, 2 of the 3 members must have found something substantial on the basis of which they decided to discontinue with the service of Mr. Alok Verma. Now it has to be seen whether those allegations or those issues are so serious, whether they need further investigation, or is this the end of the story? But definitely there must have been some substance on the basis of which this decision has been taken.
Got Mr. Raghotaman, former director CBI, joining us. Mr. Raghotaman, thank you for speaking with us here on this big development. It seems that the selection panel, the high-powered committee, has decided that CBI chief must move out because prima facie there is merit in the allegations against him. Now, this is the due procedure that was laid out and has now been followed. But do you think deciding within 24 hours was fair because there was a perception battle also that the government was fighting? How do you view this decision being taken already?
Anyway, one correction. I was not the director of CBI. I was one of the former CBI officer.
Yes, I stand corrected. Yes.
I'm sorry.
No, I stand corrected. My apologies.
I don't have the name at all because that I'm allergic towards that. Now, let me tell you that the process of Alok Verma case, he is responsible. He is a senior officer, and the Supreme Court, the Apex Court of India, has given him a relief. And instead of keeping the morale and the modesty of the office of Director CBI, when the cases of transfer of all the officials were in the court, before the court, and they have gone to the court, and the cases are pending before the High Court and Supreme Court. So, what was the necessity for him to indulge in bringing all the officers who were sent out to back? Is it good for the organization? Not anybody for that matter. He has invited his own noose around his neck by himself. It was not to be done. It was not to be done. And he should have waited for at least the selection committee comes to a conclusion and should have acted upon it. And what was the hurry for him to get back all his subjugatory and putting him back and all this? This is a very, very bad precedent he has set. And I will now accuse him. He is the man who has demolished the CBI reputation. Number one. You see, any officer can speak of something about the government and the activities, and that has to be settled among themselves as a senior police officer. He is number one. And when the number two is making a complaint, he should have brought it to the notice of the government, Prime Minister, Department of Personnel, and he should have sorted out. Instead of that, he started registering a case his own, on his own. That is the more important. Nobody knows. That on his own, he registered a case against Sana and invited back on himself. So, whatever action Mr. Alok Verma has taken is not at all in the interest of the organization. And one bureaucrat can say something about the government, but he cannot go against the government of India.
Mr. Raghotaman, we also give it to understand now that the CBI Chief Alok Verma has been removed and he will be made DG, Fire Services, Civil Defence and Home Guards. That will be his new position. But my question to you is this. You did say, of course, that this was badly handled, that this will become a perception battle for all, including Mr. Asthana in this case. Do you think right now the government perhaps stands vindicated, given that this is what they've been arguing from the very beginning, and now the high-powered committee has decided the same?
No, the Supreme Court in its very judgment has pulled up the government, has gone against the governmental action. And they have given the government shown the way that you should not have done the midnight operation. And there is no question of doing any midnight operation and all this. But what the Supreme Court has taken into consideration was the unwelcomed. There are so complimentary, uncomplimentary, no complimentary and complimentary. They divided the allegation against the Alok Verma ji on three headings, and uncomplimentary they have found out. So he should have kept quiet. What was the uncomplimentary and what was the CBC inquiry and what was his report? And the selection committee should have allowed to be taken on his own. And what was the necessity to bring him back all the officers and go against the government order, Supreme Court order? You see, major decision is this. These officers are not involved in an ordinary way. They are not the routine transfer. They
Well, we
have been
understand.
sent out.
We understand also, Mr. Raghavan, that these transfers will now be reversed again. So, like you're pointing out, a lot of upheaval and disruption within the CBI. Officers transferred, transfers reversed. Now the reversal has been reversed. Where does this really leave the CBI in terms of its functioning and its internal sort of health?
Oh, the functioning, I tell you, now it has been made a mess of the entire process. And I don't think that there will now any director who is being nominated or selected has got a Herculean task to set right the house, first of all, and bring back the reputation of the CBI. And I don't think that this is going to be a small task, and it is a Herculean task for the successor. And in my view, I can say that Mr. Rao will be back as in charge director till a new incumbent is selected. So the position what remained before the Supreme Court judgment will continue to be remained till 30th of January, 31st, till his term is over. So he now Alok Verma term is retired. Superannuation is over. So he has to go. There is no question of alternative employment for him,
Yes.
which the government has to give. His term is over. He has attained the superannuation. 60 years he has attained. He is extended because of the 2 years tenure.
But sources tell us, Mr. Raghavan, that there is a possibility that he will be given another post even until he, of course, this tenure would have ended by the January end any which ways. If Mr. Vineet Narayan is still here, wanted to check with him. Mr. Narayan, procedurally, now the selection committee that appoints the CBI chief and gets to decide on if the CBI chief should be moved out has taken a decision. But largely, what about the corruption charges against Alok Verma? Who investigates that? Will there be now an investigation by the CBI, or does the committee also decide what happens to those charges now?
For the committee to decide whether they want to go ahead with investigation or they will ask the new incumbent to do the investigation. But the important point which you were asking, Mr. Madhavan, I want to share with you is that, as I said a few weeks back when this whole issue erupted, that original Vineet Narayan judgment, which decided the tenure and selection process and an autonomy to CBI, has left many grey areas, and there's a need for Supreme Court's constitutional bench to review the whole thing afresh so that these grey areas can be taken care of. And I was waiting for this judgment to come from Supreme Court. Now that it has come, I will very soon be filing my petition in the Supreme Court requesting the Honorable Court to constitute as a constitutional bench and discuss such aspects so that in future such ugly situation is not developed in CBI, because CBI, being the premier investigating agency, has already lost credibility to a great extent. And to bring it back on track and to ensure future transparency and accountability, I think we need more reforms which can only come from the Supreme Court.
Mr. Raghavan, many thanks for joining us here on Mirror Now. Our colleague Meenakshi is live with us as well in Delhi. Meenakshi, obviously a lot of activity around the information coming out of the CBI, but do we have official confirmation yet? While the media is carrying the information, is there official confirmation either from the Prime Minister's office or from the CBI headquarters?
Well, Faye, it is expected in a short while once this news firms up. But what we are confirming to our viewers is that there have been 2 votes in that high-powered committee from the Prime Minister and Honorable Justice Sekri that were cast against Alok Verma, seeking for him to move out of CBI. And 1 vote of Leader of Opposition, Mallikarjun Kharge, who dug his heels deep, as he's been doing since last evening, wanting for Alok Verma to stay on. Now, this is coming in the midst of a lot of discomfiture that has been prevalent in the air. Remember, since late last evening, we have been witnessing some very high-octane action on ground, particularly with regards to Alok Verma. He has not wasted any time to really show his intention, what it has been. And clearly, that has ruffled quite a few feathers. Alok Verma's reversal of these en masse transfer orders is something that has not sunk in well. And that is the reason, remember, for the Prime Minister to take out time from his packed schedule to not just meet yesterday, but also agree to meet today pertaining to this issue is something that is hugely significant insofar as subtext is concerned. Prime Minister was touring Maharashtra. He got back at 6:30 in the evening. He was briefed on this one, and he conducted a meeting yesterday which proved to be inconclusive. Honorable Justice A.K. Sikri cut short his family function to make time for this meeting last evening, and today again they have met, and clearly what has transpired is something which is still very hush-hush. Of course, there will be a formal official notification which will bring out the facts in the public domain. But Mallikarjun Kharge has been very vocal, and understandably so. He's from the Congress party, the leader of opposition.
Right.
The Congress president has very clearly shown his intention about this entire exercise since early today. And now this is playing out in the public domain.
Well, what just made it more ugly and perhaps further dented the image of CBI is all the drama that happened even in the last 24 hours with Alok Verma rushing to reverse orders, issue new transfer orders. Perhaps he should have also just waited to see what decision the selection panel takes on his own fate before he did that. Completely out of time. Meenakshi, thanks so much for joining us on those updates. It's the big developing story. We will keep bringing more updates to our viewers. Thank you to all of our experts who joined us on the phone line on this story.